welcome to all of you joining us this afternoon, and thank you to those people who stopped over here instead of the session that we ran last week, which was very, very well subscribed. It's lovely to see a good number of people here, but perhaps not an overwhelming number of people, so that's brilliant. I'm going to do a quick presentation running through Google Classroom basics and leading on to some of the tools that would appear to be having a great impact at the moment for staff. We seem to be in quite a positive phase in some ways for remote education. I'm seeing some amazing stuff done in schools. Google Classroom, along with some of the extensions that can be accessed for free at the moment, seems to be providing a really good backbone, it would seem. But later on, after this quick presentation, we'll open it up to you a bit more. You're welcome to put questions into the chat, and you will be very welcome later on to unmute your microphone and speak up and chew over the fat of all of it, should you wish. So let me just share over to, I'm going to go for the really quick bare bones approach today. I'm going to share directly into a quick presentation giving you an outline of what we're doing. As I said before, you will receive these slides through email, and there will be lots of other opportunities through that email to get in touch with us. There's a little slide about the EdTech Demonstrator Programme. We were really pleased to be in the first wave of this. Our approach is very much about schools being independent of any technology company, evaluating technology on their own terms and making some really wise choices with it. We have lots of material up on the web that can at the moment be accessed for free. There are infographics, there are some recordings, there are slides for all sorts of different approaches and products. But as I was saying earlier, Google Classroom appears to be going through a little bit of a renaissance for us in our primary settings. We are in a group of 28 primary schools, so very much managing the rollout of the remote education happening in those locations at the moment, and we've been really pleased with some of the extensions we've added to people's abilities with Google Classroom, and I'll be coming onto those a bit later, as well as covering some of the basics, some of the things that you may wish to change within your Google Classroom. So in a moment we'll get over to that. We are coming from a primary perspective on this. However, plenty of the tools I talk about have relevance to secondary and higher education. So if you are from that sector, please don't feel this is going to be without merit, although do take some of the suggestions with a pinch of salt. It might not be the same for you. So there's some of the objectives of what we're going to talk about. I'm going to jump over into a couple of actual Google Classrooms and talk through some of the basics of using things. I hope everyone's okay there. Do use the chat as we go along, and off we go to my browser, which has a few tabs open for us. And let's just talk about the basics of Google Classroom. I am guessing that your Google classes look similar to this sort of thing. I've got a fake one here, and I've got a live one here from the class, which I will normally teach for a day a week. In here, you'll see you've got the stream, which is where a sort of basic messaging service out to parents can be achieved there. And you've got Classwork over here, which is where your layout of assignments, as Google Classroom likes to call it, can be placed. And you can see here, we've got a layout that we seem to have come towards working now in this daily way, where you have a topic with the tasks in underneath, so that families are able to jump in and choose those tasks as they go. Our trust has not taken the sort of fully timetabled live approach with our teaching. It's more of a pick and choose. We know that parents and families are in difficult circumstances themselves with the amount of time they have, and so this approach seems to be working well for us. You will see in here we've also got posts of videos, and we'll come on to talk about how that works as well. But let's just look at some of these settings. Under the cog in the top right, you've got, if I scroll down here, you've got a couple of options here. Here it says on the stream. Now we changed this to only teachers can post or comment because we have students who will otherwise use the stream as a little bit of a chat zone. So we often go for that. And this part here, classwork on the stream, we normally change this to hide notifications. You might think that's a little bit odd, but actually if you have it on this one, show condensed notifications, you end up with a big stream of stuff in the stream, which doesn't really hold that much relevance. So on hide notifications on there, that actually helps to keep things a bit more streamlined. You'll also notice in here in the settings that you've got Google Meet option there as well, and you can activate that in there, and then that means that you've got a link within your Google Classroom which goes directly to Google Meet. So if you have any live meetups scheduled, you can make it work like that. We're currently making things work in that respect. If I just save that, you'll see on the front here, come on, have I fried my computer today? Possibly. Okay, let's close that. Let's give it a refresh. You'll see on the front here that we've got a Meet link. Okay, so that is a place where can start a meeting, and then once a teacher has started a meeting, then students would be able to join just through there. So that's something to consider with any live meetups you do with students. So we talked about the cog there and some settings. I will talk briefly from the top left here. If I go to settings, you'll see, so scrolling down here at the bottom, there's a section about class notifications, and you can see that I've actually got access to these other classes as well, which is useful for setting work into those other classes. Of course, people are sort of flipping around with the way that they work. In the school in which I teach, we've got, you know, the class I'm in is a mix of year 3 and year 4, and then there's a year 4 class and a year 3 class, and it makes sense to some extent for people to have different roles at this time. And for, you know, if you're doing the year 3 work, it might be that you set the year 3 work for all of the year 3 children. Okay, so having access to those classes is great. But in here, and again, that's from the top left settings, I only really want this on for notifications for my class, because otherwise you just get pinged with endless emails of, you know, this child's done this child's put a private comment in here or there. And if you're concerned about getting all of these emails into your inbox, there's mention of this in my slides about how you can set up some rules in your email, and actually you then divert emails into a folder so they're not disturbing you, and you can use it as a little bit of a checklist for what's going on in your class. So setting up a rule in your email folder and setting up a folder for your Google Classroom notifications is well recommended. We can talk about that a little bit more later if you wish. So those are some of the settings you're going to think about. Let's go back to top level here. You can see I've got access to these classes, and let's go in and look again at the classwork. See, I'm going to go over to the fake one now. I'm going to show you within classwork another couple of bits. Now, I put this up here earlier. This is a material, all right? So if you've got anything that you want parents to always be aware of and it to be at the top of your classwork, if you go to create material, that will go in there, and you can see in here, look, here's a basic idea of you might have a timetable in there, you might have a letter explaining things to parents, and if you want anything to appear at the top there, that can be done with creating a material. You'll notice in here I've got this add-on of a Kami assignment. I'll come to that a bit later. But if I'm going to just create an assignment in here, let's say this is the maths task. That's what I'm normally doing for an example. This is a really bare bones example. All right, I'm not putting instructions in. You might have a web link in there to a video that goes along with it. You might have all sorts. And if I go and add in, I'm going to add in from a file, and I'm going to just drag one in from the desktop here. There we go. Drag it in. Of course, if you're using Google Drive for your storage, this is all a bit more streamlined. And the thing that I'm always trying to advise people on is this: if you are giving students what is essentially a worksheet, the type of thing where you would, you know, photocopy this 28 times or 32 times for your class, then you need to change this to make a copy for each student. I can't say that more and more. Again, when I show you this little tool Kami later on, you'll see that it actually makes that idea easier for you. But if you're getting work back from students and they say they've done it, and they haven't actually managed to get it back to you, then this might be the problem. So if it's that worksheet type of activity, which lots of teachers are issuing to students, then this is a great thing to remember, really essential to remember. So you've got to change that to make a copy for each student. Do remember that at the top here, you can schedule tasks. Okay, so if I was to assign, it would get posted in there straight away. But I can schedule this, and so, you know, I could be getting work ready for next week. Let's say, let's put it for Monday, and I'm going to leave it at 8 o'clock. It's going to drop into the Google Class and be there for parents, and they may get notified of that as well. So that's quite nice. So if I schedule that, you will see it then appears that it's chucked itself in up here, and it's grey to show me that it's scheduled and the time. And I can then, from here, I can click and drag these things around. So with that, I would, well, I haven't got a topic. Let's make the topic. Here we go. So the topic is Monday, 1st Feb. That's gone in there. I'm going to drag that. Drag and drop with these assignments is really good for just arranging what's going on with them. Okay, so there's an assignment, really basic idea. You could have web links in there with it. You could have all sorts of stuff, but that's a basic setup for an assignment. We've talked about settings. We've talked about Google Meet option. I've showed you the basics of it. Now let's just jump back into the presentation and take us into some slightly more in-depth, slightly more exciting stuff, hopefully, the stuff that brings this stuff alive for students. I will go back to that little question a little bit later, if that's okay with you. Let's just crack on. Oh, let's just say you make a topic from where it says create with the plus button. Okay, so under there is where you create your topics. And I know, of course, in primary, we may be thinking about dates rather than topics, but it really doesn't matter. And teachers are certainly finding that useful as a way to arrange what's going on, because otherwise you just get this huge long chronology of assignments. So we've talked about distributing individual documents to each child. Do keep that at the front of your mind, because it's a real clanger. I wish Google Classroom made it easier than it does for that. Let's just talk quickly about, I showed you the Google Meet Live idea. Let's talk very quickly about your options for recording video. Now, I can't encourage you more to grab hold of the opportunity to be recording your voice and recording video. And I know that that's daunting for people, and I know that people are going to be naturally fearful of that. But I have seen over the weeks many teachers who have gone from being really apprehensive about it to now being quite relaxed and actually feeling quite empowered by it, because it saves them so much time and it is creating such a good impression for the parents, and it's working well with the students. I've just been seeing a teacher recreate some of her storytelling stuff that she does in the class, and she is by no means somebody who's particularly comfortable with technology, but she's got to the point where she's going for it with that, and I can tell that it's just going to be so powerful for keeping the momentum going over these weeks. Okay, so I know that teachers are reluctant to be videoing themselves. I know that they're reluctant to record their voices, but truly, the more you do it, the more effective you become at doing it, and also the less you really care. All right, because day after day after day, it's another video, and in the end, it's just something that's working well at the moment. So you've got a couple of options. Let me jump through to here and show you. These are the two main tools that people are going for: Screencastify and Loom. We've had a lot of success with Loom recently. Do be beware the latest downloadable app. We've had a couple of issues with that, but I would encourage you perhaps to go for Loom first. But remember, as it says over here, you've got to sign up, and you've also got to verify as an education account. And if you do that, you then get up to 45-minute videos and limitless storage. And actually, as a way to share videos, is very reliable. Screencastify is also good, and it will also, as it shows down the bottom right there, direct your videos straight into your Google Classroom, which I know people like. It gives you a little preview of the video as well. So both options are there. Both options won't cost you anything. Have a go, sign up, and see where you get to with it. You can see on the picture here, that was me last year. In fact, it was the 15th of June, in the classroom, putting a video onto the material there. And if we just go back into the class, I'll show you a couple of spots where it can occur, and what, show you what it looks like. So from within here, I've got something on the stream. You can see you put a link in, you end up putting a link in. So if I click there, it takes me into Loom, and there's my video to the class. Can't say this was particularly exciting. Well, it's been a real pleasure to see. There we go, a little mock video of what's going on. Maybe it's an introduction to the day, a little pointer for them about what they might be doing, an invite, a reminder about something that's happening later in the week. There's loads of reasons why you might be doing a video. If I come over to this real class, you'll see my partner in crime with this class, Mrs. Williams. She's posted a video down there from a while back, and she's now started posting videos directly into the Classwork section for children. And I can tell you the confidence that I'm seeing from her as it grows is something to be really proud of. It's brilliant, and it shows that it can be done. Let's go back and just jump into the more exciting bits and pieces now. So I don't want to tech bamboozle people. I certainly don't want to do that. But in the space of time that we've got, I'm going to chuck some things at you, things to investigate. So we've got some more extensions here, and extensions sit in the top right of your browser when they're installed. And there's possibly a tech aspect of this to consider, in that if you are going to roll out extensions to staff, this would apply to Loom and Screencastify as well, actually. Your IT support might want to push them out remotely, which we did, because that just streamlines the whole process. All of these tools allow for a Google login, and of course your children and staff will have a Google login, so there are options to click in and sign in. But you'll see that these tools significantly enhance what's going on. This one called Cami We've managed to get a free education trial. I would really encourage you to do that from the start, because it's going to make it much easier for people when they sign up, because the company will know exactly where those Google accounts are coming from. There will be less boxes for anyone to fill in and less buttons for people to tick, less buttons for people to click on. So contact Cami, and they should be able to provide you, as they did for us, a free education trial, and I think ours runs until the middle of May. Okay, so you know that should hopefully see us out of this period and give us a really good experience of it. Now, the fundamental joy of this product, and it will do a lot more than what I'm about to explain to you, but the fundamental joy of it is that it allows children to complete work on screen. Okay, so for example, if you're sending them over a maths task, they will be able to, as you can see in the screenshot here, fill in boxes with a text tool, and also use a pen tool to, you know, annotate onto it. It could be used for English, it could be used for topic, geography, history, whatever it is that you're doing. It can have a place, and it's not the solution, but it's a solution that you can have there. And we found that lots and lots of children are hooking into it because they don't have a printer at home that they want to be using every day. They may well not have a printer at all at home, and it's giving them access to the actual work rather than copying things off the screen onto paper. And of course, there is a place for using paper and doing things off the screen, but it's allowing that variety, and really it gives a very quick access, particularly for something like maths. It allows them to crack on with their maths and complete it much more quickly. And of course, everyone's very time limited at the moment. This thing called Moat allows you, once it's been installed, allows you to put very quick voice notes into the private comments of Google Classroom. And so for giving feedback or little pointers or little hellos to children, it can be really, really good. And I have to say myself, I've become more and more confident at using it. And again, less and less concerned really about recording my voice and just cracking on with it. So again, this is a extension which could be pushed out by your IT department. It can, you know, both of these can also be installed manually if you look for the products and look for the extensions. Very, very much recommended that you look at those. So I'm going to just demo a little bit of how those are working, and I'm going to get back to you quickly for Q&A section. And so let's go over to what it looks like from the student's end of things. Okay, so I'm going to go into Chrome browser where I'm logged in as a student, and I'm going to find a little bit of work. Let's take that down so we can just show you it from the beginning. Here's a task. It's from a while ago, doesn't matter, I can still go in there. And you can see that when this was set up, there's a little link here actually pointing them towards Cami. You can do that. You don't have to, okay, but I'll show you that in a moment. If I click on here, you'll see, yeah, there's a preview of it from before when it actually completed a little bit of it. But if I open it with Cami, you should see, I actually went in there earlier and deleted that stuff. So let's just have a look on here. If I go to drawing, I can be ticking options like that. And, you know, here's one where I have to complete a shape. That could be done with the shapes. Okay, you can zoom in. Let me zoom in like that. I could complete this one with shapes like that. You know, it's not perfect. It's made for being done with you know, pencil and a ruler. But in the space of, you know, copying this off or whatever, children may enjoy this approach. If you look down here, you'll see this one could be done. You know, it could be done with a pen tool, but it could also be done with text box quite nicely. And I've seen lots of these completed where children are just using the text tool. It's nice and neat, and it allows them to put a number in there or some words like that. And, you know, again, as a way to access this and complete it, it's brilliant. And of course, in maths, we want them to be doing maths, not mucking around with copying things or what have you. So a great tool for children accessing things. And coming back to what it looks like from the teacher's side of things, let's just go back to teacher end of life. Excuse me for a moment, just flicking back to there. If I go to that same task, where was it? It was the 11th and it was the Tuesday. Here it is, and you'll see that I can go in here. Not in there. View assignment and see the work. There he is. And you should see that Cami actually slots in there for the teacher, and I'm able to see the work. There it is, and it's auto saved. Okay, so the child didn't have to click a button for me to then see that. You might have wondered, well, is there a button you can press to hand it in? Yes, this is true. Let's go back to child view. Here we go, and you'll see actually mine says resubmit because I handed it in and then I pushed it back out again. So you probably wouldn't have that. It would say hand in, but if I go to resubmit, that does a little marker here for handing it in, turning it in. I wish they would use the same terminology every time, but that's what we get. And in a moment, I think does seem to be struggling to connect with the amount of things I've got open here. It will give me the option to actually hand it in. If that doesn't work, it should be working. Children often find, here we go, you've got handed in, so it did hand in. Okay, the moat option, you'll see you get these little bits here. You get this little circle that you can click on, or indeed if a child installs it, they can record voice notes back to you. You might say, I'm not quite sure I want every child recording voice notes back to you. That's something you will have to manage yourselves. I did hear about, one situation where a child was getting a bit cheeky with it. I think generally it's probably manageable in these circumstances, but in here, and I would definitely point you to the private comments in Google Classroom. If you're tempted to use the comments that happen within either within Cami or within Google, just within Google Classroom, there's comment function within Google Docs and all those things. Unfortunately, what we found is if you've got a child using an iPad at home or another sort of tablet and they're using the Google Classroom app, sometimes they won't be able to see those comments without going through a really fiddly process. And it certainly won't alert them to the fact that there's been some feedback put in there. Okay, so my general rule is to encourage parents, children and teachers to use the private comments section because that alerts people to it, and it seems to be the most reliable place for people to create communication. So of course I'm in here and I can type in here, and you might think about voice to text technology as well to make that work. Seems to be there is a connection problem in here which I can't quite get to the bottom of. Let's reload and try again. It's going in, but it's not showing me. And if I click on the moat button here, it should,